Hi guys, and thank you for tuning into our podcast. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Lee and I'm the director of Betterbounce Direct. We manufacture inflatables, anything from small ball pools to giant inflatable play parks, and we've been in the market for around 35 years. I've owned the company for the past nearly 14 years and I've run the company full time with my partner Samantha. So our background is we started like everybody else in the hire company. So we started from scratch, one bouncy castle in the boot of a car, and grew and grew and grew to be a large corporate entertainment company, turning over considerable sums. We used to run anything up to 200 inflatable hires a week, and we had staff of we had 14 vehicles at our peak and countless members of staff that go along with owning a business of that size. So there isn't anything that we've come across, there isn't any problem that we haven't had to face or resolve, there isn't any legislation or legal work that we've had to fight our way around. There's nothing left to conquer, if that makes sense. So we'd like to put a podcast together to be able to bring all that information all together in one place, and hopefully you can learn from our mistakes and from our experience and do it the right way, if that makes sense. So we no longer own the hire company. We exited from the hire market around 3 years ago, and we did have a company that was self-sustaining. So it was a fully managed business, and we used to concentrate and work on our business, not in our business, and that allowed us to sell the business for quite a considerable sum that's gone in to move us forward in other projects. So as I've mentioned, me and Samantha took on Betterbounce Direct around 14 years ago. It's not all been smooth, it's not all been plain sailing, but we are really proud of what we've achieved over the last few years, and we've grown it into a worldwide company. We turn over around £1.5 million a year, and we currently sell into about 16 regular companies, and we have delivered to around 40 companies worldwide. So quite a substantial company, quite a lot of knowledge, and I'm hoping to pass that on to you guys for years to come. So here goes. So the reason I'm here today is I want to talk to you about minimum booking fees and how you can benefit as a company from having minimum booking fees going forward. So it took me a long time to realise that minimum booking fees were the key to success. It allowed me to increase my profits, increase my bottom line, increase the quality of stock that I was pushing forward, and obviously take my staff with me, give them better wages, a better quality of life, and just generally grow the business to manage itself. So how did we do this? So I'll jump straight into the action. So first of all, we got last year's booking figures. Let's say there was 1,000 bookings on the system. We download them to a program where we could manage that a lot better. The program we decided to use was Microsoft Excel. It's the best program out there for analysing your data, being able to sync it into various different orders, groups of data sets, and you can really sort of start diving deep into analytics. So what we used to do is we download the data, or it'd be provided from our website providers, which we usually at BCN, big fan of BCN, that works really well for us. And what we used to do is we used to import the data, and we would organise it by type, and we would choose the highest figures first. So we'd start with the highest value bookings at the top and the lowest value bookings at the bottom. So let's say last year we did 500 hires. We'd have 500 pieces of data, all in the order that we just mentioned, and we'd fix a trigger point. So we would decide, right, our business has got a number of fixed costs. So the fixed costs in our business were just like any other business on the planet. We had the premises costs, we had the rent, the rates, we had the lights, the heating, the power, we had the business rates, we had a service charge on the building to do with the parking in the yard. We also have your staff costs, you have the public liability, you have your employer's liability, insurance, you've got your actual cost of your vehicles, the lease or the rent of the vehicles, or your cost, your appreciation, everything else. You then have the fuel, the maintenance bills on that. You've then got your cleaning products, your website, your telecoms, and everything else in between. So you get all of those costs, and let's say those costs come to £7,625 per year. You would divide that by the number of hires that you do in a year, and that would give you a cost per job, if that makes sense. So we calculated ours, we were doing hires for around £70 at the time, and we knew that our cost totaled around £35. We then knew that we had to put the staff wages, direct wages into that cost, and the fuel directly into those jobs. So that pushed us up to around £40 per job, leaving us a nice £30 bottom line. Not a problem at all. We used to keep £10 of that and put it towards new equipment, so we knew that the absolute bottom line operating profit for the business was £20 out of an £80 job. Left us 25% net. Now, what we quickly realised is that we were running round, we were having various expenses, and we weren't making a ton of money. So what we knew we needed to do is put the prices up so that we could increase that bottom line significantly. But we didn't need to double our prices to double our profits, we just needed to add the same percentage on the bottom line. So from an £80 job, we had £20 left. We would get the £20 and add it to the total cost of the £80 hire. £100 was his new price. Doing a job for £100 was a 20% increase to the client, but it was a 100% increase in our bottom line. What that meant is we could actually afford to lose 50% of our clients that weren't willing to pay the £20 extra and still have a net neutral company. So when we first did that for the first time, we expected to lose some clients, but the truth is we lost maybe 8%, 9%, and it was the type of jobs that we didn't really want to lose in the first place, if that makes sense. So we were happy, profits were up 100% for such a small gain, and then we really knew where we stood as a business. So as I've explained, we had those costs, we knew what our average booking price was, and we knew that we needed to do something with that data. So now we've established that information, we need to put it into real practice and we need to start implementing minimum booking fees in order to expand our business model. So we've already established that such a small change in the pricing structure can have an absolutely astronomical effect on your bottom line. Now, if everybody wants a copy of that spreadsheet, I've got our original spreadsheet. It's been modernised for today's exercise, and it will literally calculate your average cost per booking. So if anyone wants to drop me an email afterwards, I'm quite happy to send that resource over on email. So the next thing to do is we jump back to our Excel spreadsheet. Our Excel spreadsheet, if you remember, was set from the highest value jobs right down to the bottom value jobs. So taking the information from the previous exercise, we've realised that the £80 was quite a crucial area where we saw the most change in our statistics. So that's why I used that figure. So now what we do is we go to the list. We've got 500 jobs in, all from the highest to the lowest order, and we picked a price. It was just a random stab in the dark, £125. So we picked £125. We found that point on our spreadsheet and we deleted every single booking below that price point. The total reduction from 500 was down to 300 jobs. Now, losing 200 jobs a year might sound excessive, but I'll explain a little bit more as we move through. So that sees us down around 40% in jobs, but it also sees us turnover affected as well. So the turnover before in this example was £60,000 a year, and implementing those changes reduced us turnover by 13,000. So we're now sitting somewhere comfortably down at £47,000 a year. Sounds like a bit of a backstep, but as average booking price has now gone up to £158 a year per job, every single job. So now when we were contemplating doing £60, £70, £80 jobs, we now never leave the yard for less than £155. So when we take as example before, where we sort of worked out that on doing an £80 job as bottom line was 10 quid, 20 quid, and we increased the turnover they increased the price of the job, we got that extra 100%. So now we're in a position where as business is generating £158 per job every single time our vehicle leaves the yard, which when you think it's absolutely astronomical. When we overlay as existing figures from before, we worked out, didn't we, that we were earning £20 profit per job, bottom line. Then we worked out with a slight increase we could go to £40 profit per job, which was a 100% increase in profit. And now we're contemplating leaving the yard for £158 per job. That's an astronomical gain in bottom line. You're literally talking about a 400% increase in profit margin, and all you've done is sacrifice £13,000 a year. Is that really a sacrifice? I certainly don't think it's a sacrifice at all. What it's done is it's pushed your business to that next space. Now, one or two things has happened here. You've either lost 40% of the existing workflow, so you're a lot quieter, your maintenance is down, you've got less money to spend on wages, you've got less maintenance to do, your equipment's going to last you longer, you don't have to process as many bookings, your quality of life's improved, but your bottom line is up. So you're doing less work for more money and driving your business forward. That, in my eyes, gives you 40%. It might give you 40% less work, but in my eyes, it gives you 40% more capacity to excel your business. You want to start getting into SEO, you want to remodel your website, you can afford to start looking to invest more in new equipment, bigger, better equipment with higher values again, start pushing to that higher value. One thing that I haven't touched on is, as much as financially we've worked out that we lose 40% of our work, you will not believe the amount of people that fall into that middle ground upsell cycle. So your clients that were close to the £125 cut-off anyway, what you'll find is when it gets to £110, they'll see the £125 right when they get to the end of the booking stage, and they'll start adding diddy cars, hoppers, they'll start adding dartboards, other items that are designed to increase the average spend. So what we actually found is there's no bookings in our system anymore that are £125, they're 140, 150, and what people have done is, rather than sort of sacrifice that bit at the bottom, they've paid the extra to make the jump to the next the next bracket, if that makes sense. So that pushed us booking up from the £158, it was more like £163, £164, which again made a big difference. You take that percentage in and you look at the number of jobs that you're physically not doing, you're talking sort of 16-17% less cash, which is absolutely amazing figures, and it's what you need to drive your business forward. What next? Now we have this information and we decide to put it into practice. So all modern websites have the ability for a minimum booking fee, or you can physically put notes at the booking section to contact the client afterwards. We opted for section 2. We put a large warning on the website. We had it in the terms and conditions, the header, the footer, in the paid description, absolutely everywhere you can think of, but people did still come ahead and book. We'd put a standard email together that went back saying, unfortunately, you've not hit the minimum booking requirement as listed here, 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 and here. And would you like to upgrade, or would you like to bring along a random selection of inflatables to bump it up to that value? Then we would start adding the dartboards, the diddy cars, hoppers, garden games, and everything else to bump it up to that level. You'd be surprised how many people would add a Connect 4 or a Jenga or something onto that booking to bump it up to that higher value. That created a knock-on effect, as I mentioned before, where we got extra work. We didn't have to enforce the booking fee. It just came in naturally. It was quite well accepted. Did it upset some of us long-standing clients? Absolutely. But unfortunately, you can't, you're going to break a few eggs to make an omelette, and that's the only thing you can do. You've got to start thinking of your own success, your own business, and how you drive it forward. So just reflecting back on everything we've discussed today, we took that as part of our core business model and we evolved like you wouldn't believe. So by the end of the second year, our minimum booking fee was up to £180, and that really streamlined our business. The extra capacity was absolutely unbelievable. By this point, we were running several vehicles and we were making a major name for ourselves in the industry. The quality of work improved, the pressure on the staff improved, the maintenance literally dropped through the floor, and the bottom line was literally 400-600% up where we were before. It's the most powerful exercise that we can ever do in business, and it's something that I urge you all to do pretty much straight away. So hopefully that's been enough. I've been a little bit nervous, as I'm sure you can tell. It's my first podcast. I've probably made a few mistakes. I've probably slipped up on a few of the numbers, but we're only human. If anyone's got any real world examples, feel free to message me, and I'm more than happy to send you the spreadsheets that I mentioned before. So hopefully that wasn't bad for a first podcast, not too irritating, hopefully enough golden information in there. It's not going to work for everybody. You're going to get the naysayers that say it won't work in my area and they're not willing to try it. Then that's up to them. I've given this information to six or seven large companies over the years and 30 or 40 smaller companies. Those that have taken action have moved forward, and they do have better, more successful businesses that are pushing forward as we speak. So hopefully that helps, and thanks for watching.